Okay. So when you visit ngcloudx.com, so you just need to go to all courses, right? Or if you scroll it down, you will be able to see the bundle course where you will see this freedom bundle, right? And if you don't scroll it, you just go to all courses, and here you will be able to see this you know freedom course right here. Already recordings are available. If you click on curriculum, you can see FortiGate. This particular one was in Hindi. We started with Hindi. Then rest of the trainings are in English language, and at last we have also covered the Fortinet in English. Okay, so checkpoint in English, Palo Alto in English, F5 LTM in English, right? And then we have this GTM and Wireshark, right? And Cloudflare WAF was in English, and then you will see this FortiGate firewall covered in English, right? So from today we are starting with Linux basics, right? Then we'll go with FortiWeb WAF, and at last we are going to cover the Cisco FTD. Now, why Cisco FTD at last? Because in the recent version change, so many things have been, changed inside the architecture of the Cisco, right? FTD, and many new features have been added, right? So now to cater everything, we need a stable version as well. So that's why, we are just keeping Cisco FTD at last. Okay. Now, the very important thing, you know, throughout this package was like Linux, because so far you guys must have understood that Linux is the core kernel in every device, right? And the very first thing is like, why Linux? Why do we need that? So guys, when we talk about operating systems, right? Either you have Windows, you have Mac, or you have Linux distributions, right? When we talk about enterprise networks, enterprise solutions, right? Mostly devices which you see, be it your routers, switches, firewalls, WAN optimization, WAN optimizers, uh, your bandwidth segregators, whatever device we have, right? F5 load balancers and all these devices or WAF, right? All these devices, if you check out their kernel, right, you will see that it is Linux based. Now, why kernels are based upon Linux? That is one thing, right? Because it is free, open source, it's available for everyone. So basically, what happens, it's like if I want to develop something, let's take an example. We are working on our own product, right? And we want to develop so many things. So one option will be like either I have to do everything from scratch, just like Windows and Mac, right? So they have already done it. So now they have their unique versions on top of it. But if you want to launch your own product and if you want to, if you don't want to start from scratch, I mean, you are like that, whatever is there at kernel level, I will use that. On top of it, I will have my own layer so that my product can work as per my requirement, right? So what this Linux OS is doing, it's like at kernel level. So basically, we have two spaces because this is, this training will focus on operating system. Okay. So if anybody is going to ask you about the operating system, so you can, just tell them that we have studied about Windows, right? We know Mac, and then we have Linux. Okay. If you see any networking device, any security device, or any enterprise solution, from network standpoint, you won't see their OS based out of Windows or Mac. Definitely the endpoints like user desktops, laptops, it could be Windows or Mac, right? Your servers could be Windows based, but your networking devices, your security devices, in fact, your servers, mostly it will be based out of Linux. If I talk about your routers, I talk about your switches, any firewall, any product firewall, OEM firewall, right? Any WAN optimization device, SD-WAN device, right? WAF device, whatever it is, any monitoring tool, it will be using Linux at kernel level, kernel space, right? So basically, in your operating system, we have two spaces. One we call it user space, another one is your kernel space. In user space, your user applications are installed. If I will give you an example of my machine, I'm using Windows, right? So Google Chrome browser, Microsoft Outlook, Excel, all these are user applications, right? So they will work inside user space, Chrome, Excel, PowerPoint, right? If I talk about system softwares, which will be working inside your kernel space, right? Or modules which will be working in your kernel space. Since we all are coming from the networking and security background, so the very good example would be TCP/IP stack, right? We have studied about the OSI model, we know the layers, right? But the real-time implementation of that OSI model is your TCP/IP stack. How these different devices are communicating over a network, be it your wired network or wireless network, right? There is something common in between them, which is letting this communication happen. Otherwise, this communication will never takes place, right? So this TCP stack implementation is done at kernel space. Okay, be it any OS, your Windows, Mac, Linux, right? Every OS is having this particular stack. Similarly, we have other critical, system processes which runs in kernel space. If I will give you an example of scheduler, scheduler is there to schedule the job with the CPUs for processing, right? Similarly, many other, memory related processes and small applications are there which runs in your kernel space, right? So now if you will understand, let's take an example. I want to build my own firewall, right? I want to build my own operating system, right? And what do I need now, right? Do I need to build everything from scratch? Because you will be having motherboard, you will be having CPU, you will be having RAM, you will be having hard drives. These four components are there in every device. Earlier, when we used to work upon the legacy routers and switches, it was in small quantity. Like, we used to have the NVRAMs and small chip processors and all that. But now we are having high-end devices, firewalls, SD-WAN devices, WAF devices, security products, right? They are using high-end circuits. In fact, your switching layer and routing layer is also legacy routers have been replaced by SD-WAN. And similarly, your switching layer is also getting replaced by ACI based switching, right? So now all these devices are also using high-end circuits, right? Now, high-end circuits means they are having good quality, good capacity of CPU, RAM, memory available, right? So, good number of cores are there for processing the packets and all that stuff. So, whenever you're building your product, motherboard will be there, CPU will be there, RAM will be there, and hard disk will be there. Now, if you want to build your own product, if you are building your own firewall, can you use Windows for that? No, you cannot use because Windows is a licensed product. Microsoft, license is there and it has been designed to work in a complete suite manner. You cannot break it, right? You cannot break this user space and you cannot break this kernel space because Windows is designed in that fashion. Same thing with Mac. You cannot break the user and kernel space. But with Linux, you can do it. So Linux is an open source where you can have it in your kernel mode, and in user mode, you can have your own set of applications and set of scripts so that your product can work as per your design and as per your architecture, right? So in Linux, we have different distributions. The free distributions, if I talk about, so you have Ubuntu, right? Fedora is also there, right? And then you have Debian. These are the free distributions which are available and you can use it. Ubuntu, you must be using it, right? Now, Ubuntu is further having certain flavors, Ubuntu desktop and Ubuntu server, right? Ubuntu desktop and Ubuntu server. Now, if I will give you an example, if you see this application, this ngcloudx.com, it is also hosted on a Linux server, right? Similarly, if you visit hacktheguru.com, this particular website is also hosted on a Linux server. Okay. Now, how things are working, why we are not using desktop, Ubuntu desktop, right? So Ubuntu desktop is for end users where you need GUI, right, to do your work, right? But whenever we host something, whenever we host websites, we host any other services, we need command line. We just need terminal. We do not install GUI services or GUI services, graphical user interface, because this process takes so much resources, right? So when we are hosting a website, when we are hosting the services, our focus is like client should be making connection with the server, and server should be able to provide the information client is looking for, right? So that's why in server we never install GUIs, right? We always keep it terminal based, device, and with the help of command line, we do everything. That's why if you see your older devices, they used to come with only command line, right? And this is what we used to do. We used to take the SSH of the devices, right? We used to take the console of the devices and, used to do the configuration through that. But now modern devices, next generation devices, they are coming up with web UI, or you can say GUI, right? It is a web based. So, through the web GUI, you can do the configuration, right? But they also give you option to do it through CLI, right? Both options are now available. So similarly, in Ubuntu server, what we do everything through terminal, right? I mean, hardly you will see any server is having GUI, right? Be it Windows as well. So if you go with the Windows recommendations, they, uh, recommend to deploy servers without GUI. So whosoever is working on servers, throughout their career, if you take their feedback, they will let you know that they are comfortable, very much comfortable with CLI command line as compared to GUI, right? Because with the help of the scripts and if your hand is already set up on the command line, you can do it very easily, right? Rather doing it through GUI because it takes time. Sorry. So now these are the free versions, right? In fact, your Android devices, if you see your you know Android phones, they are also based out of Linux, at kernel level. Obviously, iPhones are using, iOS, but if you check your Android devices, you will see that at kernel it is using Linux only. If I will give you an example of A real-time product like Cisco ICE or Checkpoint firewalls, Palo Alto firewalls, right? So if I will give you an example of Checkpoint firewall. On Checkpoint firewall, at kernel level, you have Linux, right? And at top level, you have Python. We also call it, surface layer. Okay. Same goes with your Palo Alto. So top level, Python, kernel level, Linux. Similarly, Cisco ICE, top level Python, kernel level Linux. Web servers, Nginx will be there for web proxy in every device, and then you will have PHP or other servers are also there. It depends on product to product for web UI. Okay. Now, you must have noticed that every product they have their command line. Like in Checkpoint we call it Clash. In normal Palo Alto we call it the command line interface from where you do the configuration and all. Root mode, right? Be it expert or root mode. Once you are inside the root mode, that is the kernel layer, you can do anything you want with that box, because then it is similar to Linux. If you have worked upon Linux, if you know how Linux works, what is the architecture of Linux, if you understand the file system of Linux, then all these devices just become, a toy for you. Most of the engineers have given me this feedback that, sir, your Linux is very strong. That's why you're able to solve all these problems, which we are not able to solve it, right? Because normally, whosoever has seen me working on complex problems in real time, they know what I'm referring to, right? So, see, guys, how it becomes very easy to understand Linux. It's like once you understand the architecture, once you know where are the services file, what does it mean, right? How to configure the services. If you see the Ngcloudx architecture, if you see any other service architecture which we offer, those services are designed purely inside Linux, right? On top layer, we are using Python, and at kernel level, we are using Linux only. Now, everything is hard coded. It's like we have done the coding from scratch, right? So, similar things, when you work upon any product, let's take an example, you're working on Checkpoint, okay? And particular services are not coming up, daemon is down, right? So what you will do, you will reboot the box at best, right? Or you will try to do some sort of troubleshooting, which you know. And after that, you will raise the tag case. Now, what tag will do? Tag will also try to restore the services, right? Reboot and all that stuff. If they are also not able to do it, if they don't find any relevant, document within their repository, they will ask you to reimage the box, right? That is not the case, right? We should not be reimaging the box until unless we know the root cause. So sometimes it happens that, let's take an example, your GUI is not opening of a product. Right? So we know that it is down because of HTTPD daemon, right? So what we can do is, like, instead of reimaging the box, we can check the config file of that particular service. We can look for the errors. Sometimes it happens that due to runtime, due to misconfigurations, your config files, they get corrupted, or some sort of error or bug was there which corrupted the system, right? Due to which your services are in down state. Now you can fix all of these problems, right? If you know little bit of scripting, you can just go into that particular directory, you can modify the files, and you can bounce your services, right? So that will be the overall agenda of this training, that as much as I can teach you about the Linux architecture, how you can work upon the config files, how you can bring up the services, how you can restart the services without rebooting the entire box, and how you can troubleshoot the deep level issues right? Without reimaging or without rebooting the box. So this we will try to cover in this training, right? So till now you might have understood that what is Linux, how an open source operating system which is available, right? So if today I want to develop any product, I'll not focus on that how my operating system should be interacting with my hardware. And your hardware is like motherboard, CPU, RAM, hard drive. I don't need to do this. I need not to develop anything from scratch, right? Do not reinvent your wheel when it is already there. So we will be focusing on building a car, not building a wheel, right? Because we know wheel is there, right? So rather investing our time in designing the wheel or wheel shape, what we will be do, we will be focusing on how my car is going to work, like what will be the chassis of my car, right? Aerodynamics. I will be focusing on that. So similar thing is happening in the industry, rather working on the kernel level, because we know Linux kernel is already available, that is open source, right? So there are general public licenses available, GPL we call it, right? So you can use that, and you on top of it you can build your commercial product. Nobody's going to stop you from that, right? So at surface layer, you can have your own technology. You can use Ruby, you can use Python, you can use any other, whatever you feel good, right? You can use that, and you can have your product ready, right? Because your products these days, these are next generation products. They have networking, they have web engine inside it, web servers, front end, back end, right? They have databases, right? And they have your scripting, right? So whosoever is coming from the development background, for them it becomes really easy to understand these products, right? Yeah, it becomes challenging for for an engineer who is already working on these products since beginning, and he's not having any idea of scripting, automation, right? Any knowledge of programming. For them, it becomes little bit challenging, and that's why you might have seen that see the escalation process. Initially, whosoever is the service provider, if I will take an example of HCL, BT, Accenture, right? They'll try to do the troubleshooting, L1, L2, L3 level troubleshooting they'll try to do. If something is beyond their expertise, then they will ask for the tag. Then we inside tag also we have L1, L2, L3. Once tag L1, L2, L3 is also exhausted, then we directly pull in the engineering team. Now that engineering team is nothing but your R&D team, uh, who does the overall scripting and who is designing this that particular solution, right? So then they take the DOMs, they analyze it, they take the debugs and do the analysis, and then if particular bug is there or something is there, then they release the hot fix or you can say the fix versions for that particular issue, right? Or they provide you the solution for that, right? So this is how the entire cycle works, okay, for any particular product. Now, when you do troubleshooting in Linux, right, if you know the architecture, that what is the Linux architecture, how to understand the file system of the Linux, because when you take SSH, so you'll get the terminal like this, right? This is one of the server, right? Now, how do I understand what is the file system of this, right? If you use this particular terminal here, you get this particular option where you can see the entire file system. Okay. Var directory is there, user directory is there, temp is there, system is there, right? Root is there, and then opt is there, mount is there, etc directory is there. So we need to understand in which directory what sort of files are there, right? Then we need to also understand what sort of tools are available within the within this particular Linux, right? You must have seen people using less, tail, grep, right? Touch, vim, nano. What are these things, right? You must have seen people using cd, mkdir, all these things, right? So we need to understand everything, that what are the tools available, what are the files available inside the Linux, right? and how to search for a particular pattern inside the log files, how to check for the log files, okay, and how to repair the config files, how to replace the config files, how we can take the SSH or WinSCP session of the any particular server and get the file system, right, and replace the files or download the log files, how you can do that, right? So all of these things we need to understand. Now, very first thing is like whenever you log in into any Linux device, if you are inside the root mode, it's like you are inside the kernel mode, right? The very first thing you need to do is like print your current directory, right? So print working directory, PWD we call it. It will tell you that where you are currently, right? This is your root directory, okay? If I will type this CD, and if I will do this, still it is showing me this. But if I will type this, and if I will do this, now it is going to give me this, right? So earlier I was inside this slash root, right? So we need to also understand what is root home directory, what is root directory, what is var, what is log, what is etc, right? So all these things we will be starting in this particular training program, so that whenever you are working on any security product and if you get the chance to get the root mode access, then you can do much troubleshooting, right? And you will be able to uh, fix the problems. If I will give you an example, let's take an example. I want to go inside the var directory, right? Now here you will see this backup, cache, crash. These are the directories which we have created, because this server which you see here, this is the server where this particular website is working, Hack the Guru. Okay. This website is working on this particular server. Okay. Now in this particular server, we do have database, right? We do have front end, we do have back end, right? And at kernel level, we have the Linux system, right? Because this is Ubuntu server. Okay. Now let's take an example. I want to go back to any directory, right? So I'll just type cd space colon colon. So cd is nothing but change directory, right? So change directory, make directory, mkdir, right? Change directory, make directory. Then you have touch to create file here, because you don't have any GUI. You cannot do right click and you can just create a new folder or new file, right? So just visualize this thing like that. I mean, the whatever you're doing in Windows, right? That particular thing you have to do it through CLI. Because if you see the Windows development as well, initially we used to have the DOS operating system, right? MS-DOS. So DOS was purely command line based. And then in Windows, I'm forgetting the exact version. I think it's 1997 or 2000, whatever it is. In that, Microsoft introduced this GUI based operating system where everything you were able to do it with the help of the mouse and all, because then it become really easy for the non-technical users to work upon this computer device, right? Earlier it was like these command line based systems only professionals can work. If you're trained on it, you can work, otherwise you don't know what to do, right? If I will not teach you Linux today, you won't be able to know that what this bin file is going, where are the bin file binary files, right? Where are the config files, how to replace it, what impact it can have on the overall system, how to repair the databases, how to take out the file from the system, right? So you need training for that. So that's why these GUI based systems for operating systems were made, so that for non-technical user, if I'm coming from sales and marketing, my primary focus will be on creating presentations, right? Or campaigning, running campaignings and all that stuff. So I'm not interested to run these, CLI commands to make my presentation, because that cannot be done, right? So as per the user persona, then these operating systems were getting modified because, in an enterprise, there is not only one department, that is your technical department. Other departments are also there, right? Sales is there, marketing is there, finance is there, IT is there, engineering is there, right? Multiple different departments are there. So we cannot design a product that is only going to solve the problem of one particular department. We need a solution that can solve problem of every department. And this is what Windows did. This is what Mac did, right? So they become the commercial products, right? And that's why if you see Windows is commonly used as an endpoint in any enterprise business. Now Mac is also gaining market, right? In enterprises, we can see MacBooks, industries giving to the employees. So if you see Linux, whenever you join any company, do you get any laptop which is having Linux OS? Right? Because it will become really difficult for you to do your job. But if you join the engineering team, if you join, the a DevOps team, or if you join the, IT team, where you have to, you are joining the R&D team where you are working on a product, building the product, definitely you'll get a Linux device, right? Linux based laptop, either it will be having Ubuntu or it will be having the commercial edition of the Linux, the Red Hat Enterprise Linux or whatever it is, right? You'll get that for sure, right? Or if you want to do the development, you will be having the servers based out of your Linux, right? Now if I talk about Docker, if I talk about Kubernetes, right, all these technologies, so do we have any solution on Windows for Docker, right? So, do we have any solution of Kubernetes in Windows, right? So, when we talk about services, when we are hosting the services, right, when we are making our website live, today we have less number of users on our Ngcloudx. If we talk about Hotstar, where my demand increases if any sort of competition is going on, which is widely liked by everyone, right? India Pakistan match. So, in that case, my user count will shoot, right? Now, to accommodate the requirement, either I need to increase the physical presence of the servers, right? I need to have more servers, but it is not going to be permanent. That user count is is available for short duration, maybe for a day or for 3 4 hours, then they will go, right? So I cannot procure so many hardwares, physical hardwares, and make them run inside my data center and pay the bills, right? That's why, such auto scaling features, whenever is needed, companies they go on cloud solutions. That whenever my user count will increase, this auto scaling will be taken care by the cloud provider, hypervisor, this hyperscaler. Now, how they are doing it, right? So they do it with the help of the Docker and Kubernetes. So the application architecture is completely based out of EKS cluster, right? We'll talk more about it, which is which will be covered inside hypergrowth training. So in that we will cover all of these aspects. Now here it's like these technologies, whatever you see today, everything is based out of Linux, right? Because this is open source. I need not to pay anything to anyone to build my product. Okay. I can use Linux at kernel level because let's take an example. I'm making any laptop, right? So for that, I need to attach my peripheral devices like keyboard, mouse, monitor, and all that. So do I need to write everything for that as well? Right? If I have the open source available, I can use that kernel, right? I can use that particular Linux OS for such operations, right? On top of it, I can have my own scripts to customize the look and feel. And this is what it is done, right? So if you see these distributions, Ubuntu, why it is free? Because at kernel level, it is using Linux only, right? So this is the free distribution which is available, and what the developers say that you can donate to support the community, right? But if you go with Red Hat, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. There, that is the commercial version. You have to pay for that. Right now, you will say that if Ubuntu is there, why do I need Red Hat Linux, right? You need Red Hat Linux because it provides you so many functionalities which in open distribution you will not get. Obviously, if something is commercial, if something is paid, it is going to have some sort of features which are not available in your free distributions. Okay, because it has been customized in that particular way. Okay. Now, coming back to our discussion here, let's take an example. I want to go inside my home directory. Every user is going to have the home directory, right? So for time being, what I have done, before starting this training, I have also installed the GUI inside this particular server so that I can also see, walk you through that how things are going to look like from graphical user interface and how things are looking like inside the command line perspective. Okay, so if I want to go inside my home directory, right, so I'll type this root home, sorry, my user, so my username is ls will help me to identify the username. Okay, so ls is there to list whatever we have inside particular directory. Now, directory is nothing but a folder, right? So we are inside the home directory, and inside home directory, this is the user which we have on the server, right? So I'll go inside this particular directory, right? And then if I will do ls, then you will be able to see so many files, right? So here you can see WAF project, right? And this WAF project is nothing but that website hacktheguru.com, right? You will see the virtual environment, you'll see the desktop, you'll see the documents, you'll see the downloads, all these folders which you are able to see, right? Now, these are the folders which are available inside your file system of this server. And from here as well, you can go inside it home, cyber group, and then you will be able to see all these file directories. And if you go inside the project, you will be able to see, right? So like I told you that we have this scripting in Python, and at kernel we are using Linux. So this is how you can make your server and you can host your services. Okay. Similar thing, I mean, if you go here, so this is the hypervisor layer, ESXi, which helps you to host multiple different, operating systems in just one bare metal server. So bare metal server, it's nothing but a big physical server where you have huge CPU and memory available. So here you can see 512 GB of RAM, right? For 48 gigahertz of CPU and 7 terabytes of storage. On top of it, you can host multiple types of you know operating systems like development server. Now this is another server, Zscaler app connector, 40 manager, 40 analyzer. Now this is the server where we have hosted this particular hacktheguru.com, which you see here. Okay, and then checkpoint, local DNS, and all that stuff, right? And when I go on this is the GUI you get because I've installed it. Otherwise, earlier it was just pure terminal, only this, right? Because when you install Ubuntu server, this is Ubuntu server, right? So in server, by default, you don't get any graphical user interface. So you have to install it additionally. So here you can see, you know, this is the user interface of that particular server. So like if I will show you the directories files, right? So this is the home, and here you will see CyberGuru, desktop, documents, downloads, and you see WAF project. This is what we were able to see inside the CLI as well. Then you will see project and you will see our application details, right? Database and manage.py, and then you will see the coding. right? Similarly, here you have the terminal, right? So whatever you are able to get inside the remote terminal, you can see here as well. So how that remote terminal was working with the help of the SSH. I have taken the SSH of this particular server. Now you will understand that why developers, they prefer to go with these Linux-based servers. Because see, it's like whenever we are hosting websites, whenever we are hosting any services, either they will be hosted inside the data center or they will be hosted on cloud, right? If I will give you my example now, Ngcloudx is having distributed architecture. Earlier it was hosted on premise, but we were facing so many challenges. Then we distributed the architecture. Now half of the services are inside the cloud, half of the services are on-prem, right? Now when it is there in AWS. So if I want to connect to my server, right? Or if I want to connect any service which is there inside Azure, so I'll not take the I'll not get any luxury of having such graphical user interfaces. What I will be doing, I will be connecting with that server on port 22, that is your SSH, right? I will be taking the SSH of that and I will be doing my work. On the other hand, if you see Windows Server, mostly people, they try to connect Windows Server with the help of the RDP protocol, remote desktop protocol, right, on port 3389. So for that, either you need to install the services in Ubuntu, right? Remina is there for RDP based services, and otherwise the preferred way is SSH only. We all try to work through terminals. Now here as well, if you do this PWD, it will give you that you are inside this CyberGuru directory, and if I do ls, you get all these folders which we were able to also see from here, right? Same output you're getting there, right? All these folders are available here, right? Now to create the directories, to delete the directories, we need to see that, right? Let's take an example. And another important part here, if you will see, this is the user which is inside this server. Right now it is not having root privileges. So you might have seen people running that sudo su, right? Super user do. So, you have to perform certain level of task inside Linux. You have to have the super user access available to you, right? Then only you can perform those things. On the other hand, if you go here, if you see here, it shows root @Nitin server. And here it is showing cyberguru @Nitin server. It means both these users are different, right? This user is root user, the super user of this particular server. This user can do anything. On the other hand, this user is the normal user. There are certain restrictions which it cannot do. Now, to become the super user, you have to type the sudo su and then it will ask you for the password, right? And then you will become the root user, right? Now you can do whatever you want to do. Okay. Any doubt till this point, anyone? So what hackers
Sure.
do, right? Mhm. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll take the doubts at last. Let me just finish first. So what hackers do, they first try to get the user access of the machines, because obviously to break the machine basis on user credential is very easy, right? Either you do phishing with the user or you got to know the passwords of the user, right? Username, password, you will try to log in into it. Then they go for privilege escalation. They try to get the root access because they know if they get the root access, then they can do whatever they want to do. And same thing, I tried, inviting people to do on my website. This hack the groove, why we created it. So inside our Cloudflare training, we secured it with the help of the firewalls, with the help of the WAF and application layer security. It's been almost 3, 4 months. This challenge is live, right? Already I made the advertisement over LinkedIn as well, that if anyone would like to hack, you can hack, right? So I was analyzing the logs because it gives me opportunity to see what kind of hacks or what kind of attacks, I can get on this particular website. What type of different types of techniques and attack strategies are being used, right? So because I can see the logs, okay. So it's been 3, 4 months now. Nothing happened on this website. So it shows that how you can safeguard your web properties. On the other hand, if I'm going to launch any service on web without security, then it will become really difficult for me and for my users to survive, because very easily your websites will get hacked. Right? There are so many attacks which we have already discussed inside WAF training. So same sort of thing can happen, right? So when you have correct set of security posture aligned or deployed in your infrastructure, then it becomes very difficult for hackers to break in the system. Okay. Now coming here, let's take an example. I want to create a folder, or let's go back here. Let's try to create it from here so that you can also visualize it. Because right now, if you see, we are inside this, right? And in the terminal, if I will try to write list, I can see all these folders, right? Which are available here. If I want to create a new folder, let's take an example. I want to create one temp folder. So make directory temp. This is the folder name, right? If I do ls, now you see this folder is there, right? If you go here, you will see this folder. And do you notice that certain folders are having this particular lock, right? On the other hand, other users are not having it. So it means that, you know, these folders were created by another user with elevated access. So it means root user has created these folders, not the current user, right? So current username is CyberGuru. But when root is making changes inside the CyberGuru directories, and CyberGuru will try to do something, right? Let's take an example, try to remove them. That user won't be able to do it because it is having less privileged rights, right? So that is one thing, right? Another thing is like inside this folder, if I want, because I have created the directory, right? This temp is nothing but a directory. So if I want to go inside it, I need to type this cd temp, and I will be inside it. And right now inside this, it is empty. I don't have any file. If I want to create a file, I'll use this tool, which is available inside Linux, right? I'll use touch ngcloudx.txt, right? And if I will do ls, now you will see ngcloudx.txt. In fact, if you go here, you will see this, right? And right now, if I will open it up, it is blank, right? If I want to add content, so right now you have this luxury to see everything through GUI. Earlier, it was not there in Linux, and in server base. If I will show you my production servers of Ngcloudx, there you will not see any GUI. We do everything through CLI. So if I want to add something here, so I'll use editor, right? Either you will use Nano or you will use VI, right? Nano is best because I keep using it. It is easy to use as compared to VI, Vim. So if you want to add certain text or some sort of information into it, you'll use Nano ngcloudx.txt, and then this will open up the file. And here you can write it out. Hi, this is okay. And if you want to save it, Control O, enter Control X, done. If you see the changes, if you go here, if you open it up, you will see, hi, this is Nitin Tyagi from Ngcloudx, right? Similarly, if you want to list down the content in the terminal, So what tools you have? So you can use cat. Cat will, list down the entire information, whatever is there inside that file, right? And you will be able to see it. And less will also open up that particular file, right? So you can see here. And similarly, you have tail utility, right? Now, where we use less and tail. So wherever the file is very big, mostly your log files are very big, right? So normally in any Linux-based distribution, if you are doing the log analysis, it is put inside var log messages, right? So let's go there. And the beauty of this Linux-based system, it's like from anywhere you can go to anywhere. Let's take an example. Right now, my directory is home cyberguru temporary, but I want to go inside var log. So simply I just need to type cd /var /log, right? I'll go here and you can see now my directory has been changed, right? Earlier I was inside home cybergroup temp, but right now I'm inside warlog, right? And here I'll do ls and I'll see what are the files and directories available here. So here I will be interested to see messages, right? Because in messages I can see, or any sort of authentication logs or whatever logs we have here, right? You will see those files, alternatives, auth log, right? Your syslog, right? And similarly, if you talk about any firewall like Cisco FTD, checkpoint, right? There you will see in var log, there is one, there will be files with name messages. And if you open up those files, there you will see that, it will give you the details about what happened to the services. It captures everything. Okay. So that's why, I have kept FTD at last so that you get all these, details about the Linux, because FTD and Checkpoint are the two firewalls which are purely, it's like once you're inside the root mode, it's like you're working on a Linux-based system, right? Because they don't have any sort of restriction, just like other products. Okay. Now here, if you want to open up any particular file, let's take an example. I want to open up boot.log, right? So I'll use less boot.log, right? And it will show me. Right now it is not having any sort of content, so nothing is getting displayed. Similarly, I can check with less auth.log and you see the details, right? These are the authentication details. Now, this is the file which you are trying to open up inside the terminal, right? So I will be interested to see certain information. Either you open this file inside the GUI, right, which you won't be getting, right? Either you do that, or if you don't do that, if you have to do it through CLI, then you look for certain patterns. So there are certain tools available, right, with the help of which we can search for the pattern. Let's take an example. I want to filter it out. I want to filter out the logs basis on date, time, right? So either I will be using this / and I'll type November 26, something like that. So it will say pattern not found. Similarly, I'll check November 27, and let's take an example. I'm interested to see what happened on 8:44:00 seconds. Pattern not found. November 27, 20, right? Then it will show you. It will highlight the pattern, right? And you can see the logs. Similarly, we have another tool with us, grep, right? With the help of grep, we can search for the specific keyword inside the file and we can do the log analysis. So this is how, we do the log analysis. We understand the services. Similarly, the way we have designed this application, Hack the Group. So we use Nginx as our web proxy, right? web proxy engine. So whatever Nginx logs are there, it will be inside this particular Nginx directory, right? And then you can see the access logs. Who's accessing my server, what they are doing, everything is inside these files, right? So if I want to see that, less access log, and then it is going to give me the details that who is accessing my server. So here I can see that I have the Zabbix installed for my monitoring. So this Zabbix is accessing this particular website, right? And then this particular user is coming from internet, and this particular user is trying to access my website, right? Now these are IPs of Cloudflare. So now I'll not discuss about the entire architecture, how the application has been built, but you can see these access log, that https hacktheguru.com accounts.login, right? You can see the timestamp and all that stuff. Okay. Rest of the logs are coming from Zabbix. So similarly, if you have attended my Palo Alto sessions or in this bundle itself, when I was teaching you Global Protect and all that in Palo Alto, I have shown you such similar logs. Right now, you will correlate. Okay, now this is similar because in Palo Alto also we have Nginx reverse proxy server, and then your request goes to the PHP server. Okay, so similarly, if you want to see the error logs, so you can just type less error log, right? And it will show you error logs. Now there is another interesting tool available in Linux, that is tail. Now tail is going to give you the last 10 lines out of the entire file. So if I will type tail access.log, it is going to show me the last 10 lines from the entire file. Okay. So whenever we do real-time troubleshooting, if you have seen that in Palo Alto only, whenever we are doing troubleshooting in auth-d daemon or any other daemon. So I used to use this keyword tail, right? So that I can see what is happening in real time. Okay. So these are the few keywords, interesting tools, not keywords, interesting tools available inside Linux, which help us to do the troubleshooting, understand the system in a better way, right? And throughout this training, I will try to cover all of these things in detail as much as I can, right? So that you can easily work upon the security products. So now I'm open for doubts. If you have any doubt, you can let me know. And if you want to go back, you just need to type cd colon colon, and you will be, uh, you will go one directory behind. If you want to go to main top, just type cd and you will be back here. Type pwd, you are inside the root home. Okay. Yeah, please. Doubts.
Nitin, I have one question. Like how we
Mhm.
can take help of